Hello and welcome to Chess Goblin. It is currently day 2 of the Norway chess tournament, and in this video we will be taking a look at a game played between world champion Gukesh and Arjun Erigaisi. Arjun starts with the white pieces and he starts off with d4, and Gukesh goes into a Nimso-Indian with the mainline theory knight f3 followed by e6 and then bishop b4. And in this position, Arjun plays the theory lines with his pawn to g3 after Gukesh castles, bishop, moving that out, and then Gukesh plays d5. Arjun tries to kick back his bishop, trading off the knight, and if we see a trade-off of pawns, Arjun plays this move, a4. And already, on the 8th move of the game, this move takes Gukesh out of his prep. They've been playing moves pretty quickly, Arjun playing them instantly, but now with this move, it throws Gukesh off, and he takes almost 20 minutes before he plays this move, c5. And now, Arjun is up more than a half hour on the clock, more than Gukesh. And he's still playing his moves instantly with bishop c3. Gukesh brings out his queen. Arjun keeps his pawn protected. We see the rook slide over, bishop come up, knight come over, and then this bishop come over, hitting the rook and the knight. And now, Arjun is up more than an hour on the clock versus Gukesh. And after this next move, Gukesh will use more than 75 minutes of his time, where Arjun hasn't even used 5. This move, Gukesh takes this pawn on d4. And the reason why, although it may look protected, Arjun cannot recapture the rook because of this pin with the queen against the king. But Arjun kicks back Gukesh's rook, he slides it back, and then we see a trade-off with the knight. And now Gukesh's king is looking kind of vulnerable. There's a hole right in front of him. We see him rerouting his knight, bringing the queen back, and this pawn come up. We see the rook slide over, and then a castle. And now in this position, Arjun's king looks pretty safe here. It's castled sitting in the corner with a nice pawn structure around it and a bishop sitting right in front. On the other hand, Gukesh's king has a big hole in front of it, and all of his pieces are sitting over on the other side of the board. And the clock. Arjun has more than an hour on the clock. This is just move 17 of the game. In this format with Norway chess, you have 2 hours for your game, but you do not get any increment until move 40. And on move 40, you only get an extra 10 seconds per move. This will come back to bite Gukesh later in the game. As he pushes his pawn forward, we see an en passant recapture, and then Arjun bringing up his knight, threatening the fork on f6, hitting the king and the rook. Gukesh slides his king up to protect that, and then we see Arjun now pushing his pawns. Then we see them just shuffling their pieces around, trying to hit the queen, giving a check, and Arjun slides his king back. We see a rook trade, and then knight d7. And so far into this game, Arjun has played with about a 99.7 or 0.6% accuracy up to this point. He's playing like a robot in this game, and Gukesh has been able to hold it off till this point. But the clock is really going to hurt him. Only 14 minutes to 47 minutes. And now Arjun slides up his bishop, and we see the first blunder of the game. And now it is just big danger for Gukesh after this knight to h5, hitting the king and hitting the pawn. And the idea of this is, although it's protected by the knight, this bishop is going to take away the knight, the defender of this pawn here on f6, and then he'll be able to recapture it with the knight. After he gives a check, slides his king back, and then Arjun's going to bring up his rook to attack Gukesh's queen, and after the queen retreats, we see it take away the knight. And instead of capturing back right away with the bishop, Gukesh plays rook d6, hitting the queen. And in this position, to maintain Arjun's lead over Gukesh, he must find this square e1. His queen must move to e1. Otherwise, the game goes back to equal, and what he's been working for this whole game will be all but lost. But he finds it. And after, we see this bishop now pinning the rook to the king. Arjun must find e4, the only move that is beneficial. It will keep his winning chances alive. Any other move, and he loses. He gets into a losing position. But he finds it again. Now Gukesh recaptures the bishop. Arjun captures back the pawn, and here it's materially equal, but a crazy position. Very imbalanced position, a lot of imbalances going on. And Gukesh attacks Arjun's rook, but instead of protecting it, he sacrifices his rook, the best move in the position. And the idea of this is he's threatening checkmate on h7, so Gukesh can never recapture this rook. And Arjun brings his king up, the only move that works here. And now the best move in this position would be for Arjun to f5. And the reason of this move, there's two main ways that this can go down, is if Gukesh takes his rook, there's knight h5 that pushes the king back. If, for example, he moved back here, then there's checkmate immediately on the board with the queen. If the king goes back here, then there's check here, and then it's checkmate on the board. If the king instead moves back here, then there's check, and then checkmate on the board there. And the other way would be queen g5, and then after the king moves back, for example, here, there's a fork here hitting the queen and the king. Although it doesn't win instantly, it's a completely winning position then for Arjun. He's up a queen, and the clock is crazy here in this position. Arjun has 26 minutes, Gukesh has 3. And he has to play 7 more moves before he gets any increment. But Arjun instead trades off the rooks. And now his huge advantage has started to drop. Recaptures it. Gives a check. Gukesh slides his king back. But now his queen can protect it. And all these strong attacking advantages, all these strong attacking opportunities are now gone. He takes back the pawn. He worked all those moves, with more than an hour on those combinations, only to be up a pawn. He should have been able to be up a king, but he's up a pawn. And then Gukesh tries to bust open the position, try to create some air for his king to breathe. And we see Arjun bringing the queen back, threatening checkmate here on g7. And now Gukesh must keep his queen there to protect it. He gives a check. Now Arjun slides his king over. Gukesh then moves his bishop back. And we see a miss here by Arjun. And he had a slight advantage, and now he messed it up again, and now he's only got 0.4 advantage over Gukesh. Now, if Gukesh can play this right, he can survive this position, and maybe, if Arjun makes another mistake, he could even get to a winning position. Gives a check here. After the king slides away, what Arjun needs to do is run his king up here to hide, and then he will be able to dodge the perpetual checks. But after we see another check, and the king slides around, now we see a forced queen trade. This was the only move that worked for Gukesh. Anything else, and he is just destroyed. It gets worse and worse. He must find this queen trade, and he finds it. With 21 seconds on the clock. And after we see the queens get traded off, the game is perfectly equal. Gukesh has survived the fire, and now, although he is down a pawn, these pawns are stacked on top of each other, and Arjun will run into trouble with those. If Gukesh can do perfect play, he may even have a chance to win this game. Now we see the kings start to work their way back into the fight, and Gukesh temporarily sacks this pawn here with the idea of after Arjun captures it back, now he has a straight runway for his pawn to promote to a queen here. He's down 2 pawns, but if he can promote it to a queen, he will be winning. He starts to run this pawn down, and Arjun runs his king over. But now Gukesh needs his king to join the fight here. And Arjun brings his knight around. See the king come around. And in this position, the most natural move would look like queen, king to d6. To try to bring it up closer to the stuff. But as you can see, it's a mistake. This is what Gukesh did. And this is a mistake in the position. And the reason why is because there's a check. And now, the computer favors Arjun heavily again. What Gukesh should have played in this position is king f6. A very strange move, because if you look, all these pawns just cover these squares, and it's protected by the knight. It looks like you're just running your king into a wall, which you are. But you need to hold back these pawns from getting pushed. But he doesn't find it. And instead, he goes king d6. Another mistake. And Arjun now has winning opportunity. Winning chances are now in his hands. He gives the check. King slides up. But now Arjun must find the move. King e3. Anything else, and he gives Gukesh all of those chances back yet again. And he finds it. Gukesh pushes his pawn. Arjun now makes another mistake. And now his lead has slipped away. What he should have gave is a check here on c3. And now after the king has to move back, the king can no longer go here because of the knight, here because of the pawn, knight, pawn. And now he's made a little box here around Gukesh's king, and he's got his king boxed away. This is what Arjun should have played. Now, that's not what he does, though. He plays pawn f6, trying to run this pawn to the end. Now he has lost his winning advantage. And the clock now, if we take a look at it, Gukesh is under a minute with 29 seconds, but Arjun had more than an hour over Gukesh. And now he only has 3 minutes. Although they do have a 10-second increment, this will turn into a time scramble. And Gukesh finds the right move, running his king back. And now he's got saving chances to draw this game, although he's down 2 pawns. In this position, it is now drawable for Gukesh. Gives another pawn check, and in this position, Gukesh cannot fall for this pawn f5, because it's actually a poison pawn, because then the knight hops forward, hitting the king and the bishop, and will end up winning the game. But instead, Gukesh finds the right move. The world champion does not blunder like that, does not take the poison pawn, he slides his king back. Arjun slides the king back, and we see this pawn here. And it's important in this position that Arjun does not go king c2, because in this position, Gukesh can actually promote to a queen, sacrificing it instantly, because after Arjun takes it, then there's a bishop fork hitting the knight and the king. After the king moves, it gobbles up the knight. It will then eat this pawn, capturing that. The king can go up and just devour these pawns here. With the help of the bishop and the king, this pawn then will promote to a queen, and Gukesh will then be in a winning position and win the game. But Arjun doesn't fall for that either. He gives the check, dodging his knight away, so there's never this forking opportunity here with the bishop. And after the king moves back, now this pawn is vulnerable. It cannot be protected anymore. Then he runs his king back and loses the pawn. And in this position, although Arjun is up 3 pawns in material, with perfect play, Gukesh still has chances to draw this game. And if Arjun makes any more mistakes, Gukesh may even still win this game. This looks like a terrible position. But with the computer, with perfect play, we know that this gives Gukesh still chances. It wants to play a move such as bishop to like d5. And the reason for that is you hold this pawn back on d4, and you're creating like a barricade here. Your bishops will sit here and block all these squares so the white king cannot move up. And that is what it wants Gukesh to do. But instead, he does bishop f1. One of the worst moves that he could have done in this position. And in general, in an endgame, with a crazy knight hopping around, you want to keep your king and your other piece far away. But not in this game. Not in this position. Now his bishop is not in the action where it should be. And Arjun finds the move, holding his pawns together. And now Gukesh is again lost. He's in a lost position. This king is held back, but he tries to open it up by attacking with the bishop. He captures a pawn. But now with 2 pawns up, and is protected by the knight, this one on the other square, so the bishop can't get it, Gukesh is in a lot of trouble. And if we look at the clocks, both of them are under a minute. There's a good chance one of them could mess up now, could make a blunder. And Arjun pushes this pawn up. And now, in this position, it is very intuitive endgame for Arjun. It should be, at least. There are so many moves that work here. They can push these pawns up on the edge, he can slide this king over, and they should all be able to work. He slides the king over and starts marching it toward the center. And then he gives this check. And throughout this game, throughout this stressful game, with high nerves and time pressure, at this point, Gukesh resigns. Because he knows that is his light at the end of the tunnel that he's been looking for this game is now gone. There's no more light at the end of the tunnel for Gukesh here. It may take another 30 moves for Arjun to capitalize and get Gukesh into a checkmate. But Gukesh's chances of winning are gone. His chances of drawing are gone, so he resigns. And with that, Gukesh the world champion, starts this tournament very roughly, with losing the game yesterday to Magnus Carlsen, and now today to Arjun Erigaisi. He starts the tournament off with 2 classical game losses. Very unfortunate for Gukesh. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. It really helps. And subscribe if you have not already done before. I hope to see you in the next video.